part of our discussion today is going to be the subject of the Gittin, which is the Jewish bill of divorce, and its complications. Example of those issues are responsive from the late rabbis who lived during the World War II, or other times when the husband left a bill of divorce, a get, by the chaplain, and it was a conditional one. For example, during the war between Russia and Japan, it was a constant question over soldiers that conditioned the bill of divorce, the get that left, for 2-3 years, and then they returned to the arm base, but not to their homes. The question is, if the man is a Kohen and the wife of Kohen who divorced cannot return to the original husband, how you handle this type of situation if it's exceeded the time frame of the bill of divorce. Another question is a husband that goes to a mission, and in order to avoid the question of Yibum Echalitza, which is if you have a living brother, there is no children involved, and he wants to avoid her from going through this suffering period of having either the brother marry the surviving wife or the brother releasing this act of levirate marriage by giving her the bill of release. It's called chalitza. The husband wants to avoid her from those issues and leave her advance get. How you deal with this type of situation if things change? Time allows, we go also to discuss the subject of asmachta. Asmachta in general term is the issue of transactions between two partners. I think good example of asmachta is the gambler who basically make a living by gaining money that doesn't have the two partnerships, meaning by Jewish law, in order to have transactions between two partners, you need to have the consent of a mind of two parties. The rabbis hold a consensus that the man that gain money, for example at the gambling table, gain money not because the other party put that money and willing to transfer that money to the other party, but basically he gained the loss of other partners, which create the subject that is called asmachta. The matter of kanya, the matter of transactions between two partners, need to have the consent, as we said, and here we have a lack of consent, especially here when we are speaking about the subject of making oath or vows. The key subject is nidrei shigegra or nidrei onasim, which means matter of vow which a person made under either a pressure circumstance, unknown situation, unwittingly situations. So the subject is going to discuss at length in this page, Tractate Nedarim, tractate dealing with the law of vows and oath, page 27, but we will start on the very bottom of page 26b, Eitivei, 3 lines from the bottom of the page. Eitivei Ravina Lerava, Rabbi Natan Omer yesh neder שמקצתו מותר ומקצתו אסור. Here we talk at the previous several dapim, we talk in the Mishnah. A fellow, let's call him a name, Reuven, he owns a fig tree and he saw from far away people are eating from his tree. He said, these people who are eating from my trees, konam, that it should be like a korban, like a sacrificial offering, which basically he forbidden them from future using his trees. And then when he get close, he realized that some of those people are his father, his brother. So we enter the disputation on the Mishnah between Beit Shammai, the house of Shammai, who said that that's basically excluded his father and brother, but not the others, meaning the others are still forbidden to touch this produce, but since his intent was not to include his father and his brother, therefore they are permitted to eat the fig trees, versus Beit Hillel that said that the moment you're excluding some, the moment that there is annulment for the vow, even is a partially a matter of annulment, then you annul the entire matter of vow, and that applies to every single one. So here, to challenge this view, we have a situation that a fellow has a produce. He has a big jar containing a lot of produce, let's say oranges, apple, blueberries, strawberry, figs, and others. And he said this vase, this big jar, is prohibited. But the problem is, he later found out that some of those produce or rare produce that he wanted, for example, if he see a high quality figs that he wants to eat, and he meant to say that for sure that's not included. So here they said Keitzad. Here is a situation. Nadar mina kalkala. You have this basket of figs. But again, the basket of figs in that sense is not total mixture. It's a figs, but within them later on he discovered a rare or expensive figs that the Rashash explained he wasn't intent to make this vow over them as well. So in a sense he wants to seclude them from the other manner of vows. 27, Vehayuva bnot shuach. So either it's a white fig that takes long time to mature those figs, but here the idea is he meant to say that figs and figs in general, but it was those. So there are two versions. There is a Shita Mekubetzet who said that it's advanced, good one. There is a Gemara in Tractate Brachot, page 40b, said that it's bad one, it's white and low quality one. There is a Tosfot on both, on Rosh Hashanah 15 and Avodah Zarah 14, that dealing with this, some type of contradiction, if those figs are really low quality or high quality. But anyway, he meant not them. He didn't realize that this bnot shuach is part of that, these white figs. ואמר, and he said, the vower said, אילו הייתי יודע שבנות שוח בתוכה, לא הייתי נודר. אלא משאר הכלכלה, I will not make this vow if I realize that these special figs, for good or for bad, were included there. So they said, הכלכלה אסורה, בנות שוח מותרות, עד שבא רבי עקיבא לימד, נדר שוטה מצווה הוצג לו. Originally said that we allowed only those bnot shuach, those white figs. The rest of the produce are prohibited, until Rabbi Akiva came in and said, no, the moment you abrogated, you dissolve one vow, you dissolve everything. מה אליו, דאמר אילו הייתי יודע שבנות שוח בתוכה הייתי אומר תנים שחורות ולבנות אסורות, בנות שוח מותרות. If I know that he has included these type of figs, I meant to say that only the bnot shuach allows versus black and white figs are allowed. ורבי עקיבא and Rabbi Akiva is the one who allowed those figs. Ufligei Rabbanan, but the sages disagree with him. So according to you, Rabbah, who says that the vower will have changed his original formulation. So we said that if you dissolve part, you dissolve all the neder. So the Gemara said, and it's not the way you said, that everyone agreed that it's permissible. That so he said, לא, באומר אילו הייתי יודע שבנות שוח בתוכה הייתי אומר על כלכלה אסורה בנות שוח מותרות. If I know that the bnot shuach is dead, I say that this kalkala, this jar is prohibited, but bnot shuach allows. And here you have disputation between Rabbi Akiva and the sages, if it's considering as a change of his language, or you go by the Tafos Lashon Rishon, which is the original statement, and it's not a change. So, Man Tana Tanu Rabbanan, Nadar mechamisha bnei Adam, utar le'echad mehem utru kulam. If someone make a vow not to benefit from 5 people at once, which means include all 5 of them, is in one single vow. So the moment that is permitted to one of them, it's already for all. But if he said chutz me'echad mehem, excluding one of them, hu mutar ben asurim, he is permissible but not the others, other prohibited. Le ulerava, ilerava, if you go by the Rava, that he says that everyone agreed that not the entire vow is abrogated. Reisha Rabbi Akiva, Seifa, the first part, the Mishnah, so they allow everyone that follow Rabbi Akiva. But the Seifa, the last clause that said that she is now fulfilled the original statement, Divrei HaKol, everyone agreed that there is no dissolvement of the vow. Ilerava, Seifa Rabbanani, if you go by the view of Rava, the later part of the Braita, it's the view of the sages. V'reisha divrei hakol, in the first clause of the Braita is the opinion of everyone. That everyone agree that in that situation, the entire Neder is annulled. So halacha, we go by the Ran, that hold the same Rabbi Akiva, that if you allow, dissolve one, the Neder, you dissolve everything. And according to Rabbah, that only if he change his expressions, but that if we say that he can keep his expressions, so you don't have halot neder. This matter of vow, it's not fulfilled, and that's the way the Ran said, the Ramban, and others. There is a big discussion among the poskim if a person make a neder b'shogeg, an unwitting neder. For example, he take an oath that he married with a certain woman. He take an oath, and then he find out that she have some problems, or the family have a problem. So does he need annulment? And if yes, what type? What exactly the definition of the vows, and how should you annul it in the case of unwitted statement? Since we said at the beginning of this parak, this chapter, page 20b, all 4 categories of vows that you don't need the hatarat chacham, you don't need the erudite sage to dissolve this vow. So here we go by the 4th category, which is nidrei onasim. You have beyond person's control vow. The Ascent said keitzad. Anyway, הדירו חברו שיאכל אצלו וחלה הוא. So a fellow said that invited him to come for lunch, and he basically forbidden all of his estate to that fellow, and by saying so, he is basically forbidden to go and eat by him. V'chalahu, but the one who is invited turned sick. He cannot come to that meal. Or chalabno, or if his son gets sick and he need to watch him. Or sheikvonar, if he was beyond his control, he have delayed from the community big river, big bank. Arei elu nidrei onasin. So this is a nedarim that beyond a person's control, those circumstances. So if that's the case, they are not binding and do not require the solution. And now, there's a book called Even Yashfeh. The Even Yashfeh asks a question: if a person said, I'm going to study every night, in order to encourage himself, he forbid himself from eating meat and drinking wine. And all of a sudden didn't feel so well. They took him to the hospital one night. He didn't study all night. So now the question is that neder is still in effect or not? So it's a big discussion. What exactly gidrei ones? What is the definition of the situation beyond anybody's control, which means it's very difficult for him to fulfill his neder, and sometimes it's an issue of pikuach nefesh. Ha'u gavra, here the Gemara gives us a story that applies to unwitted or beyond person control vow. So as a person, it's a person left in a rabbinic court, shtar zchuyot, a special document that is supporting his right to author's property. Ve'amar, and he said, Ilo atina ad tlatin yomin, if I don't come in up to 30 days, levatlun hanei zachvatai. So all my rights annul should be if he failed to return on time. Itnis velo ata, it happens that it's beyond person's control, and he passed the time frame of 30 days, period. So he said, Amar Ravuna batil zachvatei. So Ravuna said that he lost his right are annulled, right? Because that's the way he stipulated it. So the Kovetz Shurim elaborates on that, and he said that this was pe'ula be'ones, which means that the Beit Din is concerned if this person is really sincere, or he tried to find a way to run away from his obligation. So that's the reason why they ask him the condition that he should leave the shtar, the documentation. So in a way, it's not sincere or total consent. Anyway, Amar le Rava, or some said Rabbah, why you say that all his right is abrogated? Anushu, it's beyond his control. It's a question. There is really a victim of circumstances or not. But anyway, that's he hold. The anus rachamana patre. The Torah exempt someone who's in a state of anus, which means it's beyond his control, because they said ichtiv, if you have a case, Deuteronomy 22, of a raped young girl, so since she was raped, and she was not one who initiated or part of that, so they said, she cannot hold the same category as a married woman that behave in an unfaithful way, because she was it wasn't in her control. So there's a big discussion, how do you even compare between them? The Khatam Sofer and Shari Yosher deal with that. Anyway, v'chitema ktala shani, may you say that you can differentiate between the two. When it's come to a death penalty, capital punishment is different. That the Torah exempted the person. But if someone fulfills his condition even beyond his circumstances, so he fulfills his condition, and then his right abrogated. Vatnan nidrei onasin hediro chavero sheyochal etzlo v'chala hu shechala bno. If you have a situation that a person's ask that he should eat by him, one's friend declare a neder against him that he should eat with him, but unfortunately he turned sick, or his son turned sick, or sheikvo nahar, or if they have a river prevented him from coming. Harelu nidreu nasim. So that's beyond a person's control, because in the vower's mind, he did not take this vow if he knew that this condition will not be fulfilled. So he knew that he will not come. So therefore, the Ran explained that Ravuna hold that it's not the same. Why? When a person lo itkaven is not intent, so that's maaseh ones. But when it's come to a bet din, you have the 30 days period. he needs to have in his account that it may turn to be an honest, it may turn to be beyond his control. So basically he agreed in some way to give up everything. Ulerava, that according to Rava that said that this condition beyond a person's control is not considering a kiyum tnai, ma'ishna mehadetnan. Here it's a fascinating subject in Tractate Gittin, page 76b. If someone giving to his wife a bill of divorce, but is a conditional bill of divorce, and he said, "Harei ze gitech me'achshav," he said that here is the setup or get effective from now. Im lo bati mikan ad 12 chodesh. I'm going to travel, and if I'm not coming back from now until 12 months, umet betoch 12 chodesh, and he passed away during that 12 months, so obviously harei ze get. So it's considering a full bill of divorce. Why? Because he did not return within the framework of 12 months. So it's now clarified that she retroactively is a divorced woman from the time that he basically gave her the get. Amai, but according to Rava, why? Why is considering as kiyum tnai, fulfillment of that condition? V'ham meinas itnis. He was surely constrained by unavoidable circumstances from returning within the stipulated time period. Amrei, so they respond to him, Dilma shaniatam. You have to differentiate, because over there it's a condition of this divorce, it's a case of conditional get. 27b, the ihavayada, the mit min altara v'gamar v'yayiv gitas. If you remember, we study on Tractate Nedarim, page 2 and page 3. This subject, the Ran explains that this is a man that he wants to avoid her for this agony of yibum and chalitza. So he have no children, he went overseas, so he left her the get. So retroactively she'll divorce, and therefore the bill of divorce is effective, and she is not in need for yibum or chalitza, for any manner of levirate marriage, because it was already get provided. What's the difference between this one? Rabbeinu Avar Minahar said, another person that he said to those witnesses, the day get, when he divorced his wife, if I'm not coming from now until 30 days, this get is in effect effective get. So all of a sudden he have this river, that boat is called Mabra. So you have this a river that avoided him from crossing, and he passed the time. Amar lehu, chazu da'atai, come and see, I'm here. So I've come. Amar Shmuel lo shmei matya. And Shmuel said that that's not considering for him coming to the town, since he did not actually make it into the town on time, and the get takes effect. Amai, why? V'am min asanis. The truth is that he is surely constrained towards the unavoidable circumstances. So the Gemara said, Dilma unsa dimigal yashani. So you have to differentiate between something that you already predicted, constraints, something that you're not predicted. The Rashba said that you have to have some type of risk management, the planning in advance, the idea that this may happen. So it's like something that you should make a set up precondition in advance in order to avoid this type of problem. That's the way the Rashba and the Ran said. Uma'abra migale unse. So here, and the constraint of being stopped by the lack of a ferry is foreseeable. So you cannot challenge the Rava views. So the Rosh explains, even the Mishnah referring to to the delay by the river as an example of something behind his circumstance, that he couldn't think about it in advance. The Mishnah speaks about the situation that the water was so overflowed, he couldn't pass, and it's not because of the ferry, it's because of the water condition, and this is something he could not predict in advance. That's the way the Rosh tells us. If you remember in the introduction we said that there is the asmachta, and asmachta is not binding. Asmachta is like inconclusive consent, since he certainly assumed that he will return and intended to actually give away his documents. So Gemara said, Shaneacha the mitpantusan. Here is different because the document for a favorable verdict are being held by the court. So he certainly did not intend to give them up in the event that he not return on time. So therefore it's not considering asmachta. That's the way Rabbi Dr explains. So you mean to say that where his rights are being held by the court, his commitment is not considered an asmachta? Ve'atnan, this is a Mishnah in Baba Basra 168. מי שפרע מקצת חובו והשליש את שטרו. If someone paid the lender some of his money and then deposit his loan document within a third party. ואמר אני נותן לו מכאן עד 30 יום. תן לו שטרו. So it's basically give him so he doesn't need to collect it from me. Not everyone goes along with this idea because the Tosfot Yeshanim and the Rashba said that the condition of the borrower is that he made with the lender agreement that if in a time constraint, a time frame, he will not return his debt, so the down payment is a gift. So he owes the same. So for example, you have two partners and you put money, down payment, but you put a condition. You said, hey, if I don't pay the rest, so this money I lost. It's like unrefundable money, right? So you call it here a gift. הגיע הזמן ולא נתן. If you reach the time and the borrower did not give the lender the balance of his debt, disputation, Tanaik disputation. רבי יוסי אומר ייתן, ורבי יהודה אומר לא ייתן. Rabbi Yossi said that he should give 1/3, give the loan document to lender as the borrower has stipulated. And Rabbi Yehuda said, no, you should not give. It's a smachta. Rav Nachman אמר רבא, ברב הונא אמר רב, הלכה כרבי יוסי דאמר אסמכתא קניה. We go by Rabbi Yossi that he said that the asmachta is binding. So therefore, mo'ilat nai, the condition is effective. So if you go by the Rabbi Yehuda that said that asmachta is not binding, so you see here that even this borrower bring the document and he left it by another trustees, it's still considering asmachta and it's still not effective. So the Gemara said, "Shaneacha de'amar li batlan zachvatei." Here is different because the one who deposited this document with the rabbinic court explicitly said that the document for a favorable verdict should be void, which demonstrates that he intended to uphold his stipulation. Vehilcheta. And now we go to the final halacha. Asmachta kanya. The asmachta affects acquisition, even if it is dependent on a condition that may not be nullified. And he said, "Ve'au kanu minei bevei din chashuv." So, but here it's different because the other party, the asmachta is an eminent court, but not an agreement that take place not in an eminent court. Vehu dekanu minei bebedin chashuv. So that's different. You treated differently among the Rishonim. The Rishonim disputed, the early rabbis, what do you mean by definition of bedin chashuv? If it's the Rashba, the Ran, the Meiri disputed over that, but the whole idea of asmachta kanya is applied to every asmachta or not, or only this sugya. It's a big rabbinic discussions.
Shuloim, Malachai, Shuloim, Malachai.